Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to absolutely shatter some deeply ingrained myths you've probably heard a million times around motivation, stress, and performance. We're going to dig into some incredibly cool science-backed tools from psychology and neuroscience to uncover exactly how you can truly optimize your potential.
So take a quick second and ask yourself right now, what have you always been told you're just naturally good at? Maybe people say you're super smart, a natural-born athlete, or, exceptionally talented at music or art. And hey, it feels really great to hear those things, right? But the incredibly counterintuitive reality here is that this kind of praise, where you attach your core identity to your performance, can actually severely undermine you in the long run.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the identity trap, move into why we should praise verbs, not labels, then look at the neuroscience of mistakes, the stress paradox, the synergistic mindset, and finally wrap up with everyday tools for growth. Basically, we're going to dissect the problem, look under the hood of the biology, and then hand you some actionable tools.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the identity trap, and the hidden danger of being called smart. Here's the thing. When we attach our identity to being naturally smart or talented, we are actually building an incredibly fragile foundation, one that completely crumbles under pressure. Think about it. If your entire identity is wrapped up in being a high performer, you have a massive amount to lose the moment you make a mistake or face a real, grinding challenge. You internalize that error as a personal failure, and boom, your performance plummets. And to understand just how pervasive this trap is, look at this staggering number. Back in a 1996 survey, a whopping 85% of parents believed intelligence was completely fixed. They literally thought the brain was just a vessel of a set size. You either had the innate intellect or you didn't. This widespread and frankly shocking belief set the perfect stage for Dr. Carol Dweck's groundbreaking discoveries over at Stanford.
Moving on to Section 2, praise verbs, not labels, the science of effort.
So in a landmark 1998 study, Dr. Dweck's team revealed a stark contrast in how we praise people and why praising verbs absolutely beats praising labels every single time. Kids who were given intelligence feedback, meaning they were told they were so smart after doing a good job, subsequently picked easier tasks. Why? Just to preserve that smart label. Shockingly, they were also far more likely to lie and artificially inflate their scores when telling their friends. On the flip side, kids given effort feedback who were praised for trying hard and persisting, they eagerly took on much harder challenges. And as a result, they significantly boosted their actual raw performance and solved way more problems overall. It's a total game changer.
Okay, Section 3, the neuroscience of mistakes, inside the brain.
So what is actually happening under the hood, biologically speaking, when we mess up? Well, for someone with a fixed mindset, being told they're wrong triggers a really heavy electrical signal known as a P3 wave, right in the emotional rostral side of the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC. Basically, they just feel the terrible emotional sting of the mistake. But for folks with a growth mindset, those brain resources immediately shift over to the cognitive dorsal side. Instead of just feeling awful about it, their brain actively starts analyzing the error to figure out exactly what went wrong.
Which brings us to Section 4, the stress paradox, rethinking anxiety.
Now, that analytical brain shift we just talked about is incredibly powerful, but let's be honest, it's really hard to pull off when we're low-key panicking. Drawing on research from Stanford's Dr. Alia Crum, we actually need to rethink anxiety entirely. Enter the stress-is-enhancing mindset. This is the mental frame of believing that the physical sensations of stress are actually your body mobilizing resources to improve your health, vitality, and learning. And the wild part? Research shows that simply learning this fact fundamentally changes how your body reacts to stress. You literally stop viewing a pounding chest as a threat and start viewing it as fuel.
And guys, this isn't just fluffy self-help talk. Concrete physiological shifts actually occur in your body. Your heart's stroke volume increases, pumping more blood with every single beat. You get greater peripheral blood flow, which keeps your cognition super clear. The duration of your cortisol release, it gets shorter, which prevents chronic burnout. Your body even deploys pro-growth anabolic hormones like testosterone and estrogen. By merely changing your cognitive appraisal of stress, you are profoundly adapting your physical biology. Absolutely incredible.
Let's look at Section 5, the synergistic mindset, compounding performance.
So, what happens if we put these two incredible concepts together? Dr. David Yeager's 2022 research in the journal Nature shows the massive compounding effects of combining a growth mindset with that stress-is-enhancing mindset.
His team gave students a mere 30-minute tutorial combining these two ideas right before putting them through rigorous public speaking and math tests. The result? A 40% improvement in self-regard and a 14% improvement in passing highly challenging courses. This incredibly brief, half-hour intervention fundamentally shifted their physiology, buffered them from anticipatory stress, and propelled them to willingly take on much harder challenges.
Finally, Section 6. Everyday tools for growth, actionable steps.
All this science is fascinating for sure, but the crucial point is how you can actually implement this stuff today in your own life. Well, here are 3 concrete, science-backed steps you can use. Number 1, praise verbs over labels. Whether you're talking to yourself or someone else, especially after a huge win, reward the effort, the persistence, and the strategy, not the innate talent. Number 2, analyze your errors. Don't hide from your mistakes. Proactively seek out help to dig into the why and force your brain into that cognitive appraisal state. And number 3, write a letter teaching these exact mindsets to a future learner. The simple act of explaining this to someone else deeply solidifies it in your own nervous system.
Now, right before we wrap up, let's take a second to reframe a classic phrase. You've probably heard the saying a million times that the mind is like a muscle. Well, actually, scratch that, it's not exactly true. When you lift weights at the gym, you get a pump, a physical, visible hint of growth that feels really productive. But mental growth, it doesn't feel good in the moment. Trying to learn something completely new simply feels like agitation, frustration, and strain. You don't feel the growth while it's happening.
Which is exactly why this quote so brilliantly illustrates the reality of true learning. As calculus professor Uri Treisman tells his students on day 1, difficulty, struggle, and frustration when you're learning something are not signs that you've reached your limits. They're signs that you're expanding your limits. That physical stress you feel when you're totally confused, that is literally your brain mobilizing the resources required to form new synapses. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. How will you reframe your next major failure? Are you going to let it define your identity as a permanent label, or will you use it as the ultimate opportunity to analyze your effort, harness your stress, and completely expand your limits? The cognitive tools are right there waiting for you. The choice is entirely up to you.